Welcome, everybody, to the Coaching Masters podcast. I'm talking to my community right now, live, as I record this podcast. I love Coaching Mastery. Coaching Mastery is one of the most incredible places for coaches. In fact, it's probably the most incredible place aside from the Coaching Masters membership, which if you're listening to this podcast and you're still not a Coaching Masters membership, what the fuck are you doing? You need to become a Coaching Masters membership ASAP, or at least join Coaching Mastery so you can watch me record these podcasts completely live. There's one reason as to why I'm talking about what I'm talking about today. Two benefits, one reason, two different groups of people I want to speak to directly right now. And this isn't just the podcast episode, this is also the YouTube video as well. Because in case you guys didn't know, not only do we utilize and use the audio on these weekly lives for the podcast, but also I use these videos for YouTube. So what I want all of you coaches who are listening to me right now. Now, you may be listening live, you may be watching this on YouTube, you may be listening to this on the podcast, but there is something I want you to have, okay? I want you to be able to have a resource that you can share with people that don't quite know or understand what we do as coaches. So that is the reason as to why today's episode is called What Actually Is Coaching. Now, I've touched on this through various different episodes. And of course, coaching is the main theme throughout everything that I talk about. But what I want you guys to have is I want you to have a resource that you can share with people when they are utterly confused about what it is we actually do. Now, one of the biggest benefits of being able to share this with people is that you won't have to re-explain yourself every time someone asks you, what is a coach? What is it you do? Because you'll be able to just share with them the audio from this podcast or even the video from YouTube, and I'm going to be the one that explains it, right? So what actually is coaching? That's what we're going to be talking about today. If you're listening to this, it means that somebody has either recommended that you listen to this and they've said, look, if you want to know what coaching is, you want to know what I do, go and listen to Liam explain it. Or maybe you're a coach listening to this and you're thinking, you know what, I want to make sure that it's a good explanation and an in-depth explanation before I send it on to my partner or my parent or that person at work. But yeah, so you're either someone who it's been recommended to, or you're a listener of the Coaching Masters podcast, you're already a coach and you're recommended it to someone. So that is the big question. What actually is coaching? Because still to this day, there are lots of people that can be confused about what it is we do. I'll give you a classic example of this, right? This is just as typical as it gets. When you say to somebody that you're a life coach, and the response you get is, how can you tell me to live my life, right? How can you tell anyone to live their lives? When you say to someone, I am a life coach, that all too often is the response that we get. Well, how can you tell someone else how to live their life? And the reason that we're starting today's explanation with that is because what that objection highlights is it highlights one of the main things that we do not do. We don't tell anyone how to live their lives. We don't give people direct advice or direct guidance, right? That's not what coaches are. Coaching masters have the ability to be able to coach people whilst also involving advice and guidance if they think that that is what their client needs in that immediate moment. But that's not really what we do. Otherwise, we would be mentors, right? And we're not mentors, we're coaches. So when we have clients, and I'm going to explain that everything in detail, right? I'm going to talk about what a client is. I'm going to talk about what a coach is. I'm going to talk about the relationship between the two. I'm going to talk about why people would want clients. I'm going to talk about why people would want to become a coach. I'm going to dive into the whole thing today, right? So even at this point, if you're thinking, hang on a minute, a client, a session, what is that, right? I'm going to explain it. But just for those coaches amongst us, you know, when we have a client, we're not immediately sitting down with that client and saying, right, I'm going to tell you right now, this is what you need to do. From my perspective, this is what you're missing. From my perspective, this is what you need. Go and do what I tell you to do. Otherwise, we can't work together. It's the complete opposite of what we do. Coaching is so much in its infancy that the Oxford English Dictionary, the printed version at least, doesn't even have a definition for what we do. If you look up the word coach, you get two definitions. A big bus is definition number one, and a sports coach is definition number two. We're not either of those things. Now, interestingly enough, we are more like the bus than we are the sports coach, because our job is to take people from A to B, where they currently are to where they want to be, where they're currently stuck to where they want to go. We are the encouragers of growth, transformation, and change. We are the highlighters of the blind spots. We are holding up the mirror to the places and the things and the emotions that those people haven't recognized. They've always been there, but we are the ones to show it to them. We're not the ones to give it to them. We give insight and help clients use their skills and talents to the fullest degree. If people knew how to use them already, everyone would be living incredible lives, right? So that's what we're doing, is we're helping provide the insights, not provide the answers. And those two things are very, very different. What is the difference between coaching and mentoring? And I'm going to take that a little bit further even. And I'm going to talk about the difference between coaching, mentoring, teaching, and therapy, right? Coaching, mentoring, teaching, and therapy. So what's the difference between coaching and mentoring? So mentors, what they do is they give people advice based on their own personal experience. So when a mentor is mentoring someone, the reason that they're mentoring someone and the reason that they're a mentor is because they have reached a certain level of success within a very, very specific field. And now what they're doing is they're giving over their experience from their perspective and their point of view, and they're giving advice and guidance of what someone who is a few levels lower than them, what they should do in order to follow in their footsteps. So I'll give you a great example. Let's say, for instance, you've got David Beckham, known to be one of the greatest footballers that the UK has ever had. Let's say you've got David Beckham. David Beckham could mentor younger football players by giving them advice and guidance based on what he has seen, what he's heard, what he's experienced. And he's trying to guide them away from the pitfalls that he fell into and try to guide them towards the success that he's had based on the knowledge and the wisdom that he's gained. That's a mentor. A mentor is someone who is a few steps ahead of you. They've been there, they've done it, they've seen it, they've got the t-shirt, they've achieved the success, they've fallen into the pitfalls, and now they're giving you advice based on what it is they've done. That's a mentor. A coach is very, very different, because a coach does not need to have and share in the same experience that someone has had in order to be able to help them, because what a coach is not doing, a coach is not giving advice and giving guidance, a coach is asking questions. There's a huge difference, right? The mentor says, what you should do is go to this place and speak to this person and say this thing. Whereas the coach is saying, what do you feel would be the most beneficial thing for you to do right now within this situation, in this environment? Is there anyone that you can talk to? Are there any resources that you have? Is there any experience that you have gained, right? So there's a huge difference, because the coach is asking the questions with the understanding that the answers lie within that individual. They just need to be brought out of the individual, right? So why is that hugely different to a mentor? Because in order to ask somebody the right questions to get them to a place where they're able to have a light bulb moment and come to their own conclusion of what it is they need to do, the coach does not require any of the experience that that person has within that field. For instance, I have absolutely no experience whatsoever within the world of snowboarding, right? I've done a little bit of it in terms of just recreationally for fun. Let me use another example of something I've not even touched, like I've never been a part of it whatsoever. Cricket, right? I've got zero knowledge on cricket. I don't know anything about it. Literally nothing, right? It's not a sport I've ever looked into or had an interest in or watched. Like, I know nothing about it. Now, I could not be a cricket mentor, right? I couldn't be a mentor to a cricket player because I do not have any of the experience that they're looking for. I can't give them any advice. I can't give them any guidance. And I can't talk about anything from my own personal viewpoint. I've got nothing to offer them as a mentor. However, I can absolutely coach them, even though I've got no experience of cricket, because all I need to do as a coach is I just need to ask the right questions that gets that player, that person, to a point of view where they are having the realizations of what they need to do in order to improve their experience within the game of cricket, right? As a coach, we've got tools and techniques and methods and frameworks and all of these things that we use with our clients that do not require us to have the same experience that that person has within that field. We only need to be asking the right questions. So Neela says, thank you. It was a great explanation. And it's a great question. It's an absolutely brilliant question because it's one of those things, isn't it? Again, it falls into that trap of, hang on a minute, you say you're a life coach, you're telling people how to live their lives. It's like, I'm no one's mentor. I don't know if anyone has ever seen that Tony Robbins documentary, and it's called I Am Not Your Guru. The title of that documentary very much leans towards what we're talking about right now, right? Now, a mentor, guru, they're similar in a way, right? In the instance that we're looking up to someone and we want to walk in their path and do what they've done, and therefore they're passing the information back down to us. Now, there's a very specific reason as to why he called the documentary I Am Not Your Guru, because basically what he's saying is, I'm not your mentor. I'm not here to tell you what to do or where to go or how to do it. I'm here to coach you. I'm here to ask you the right questions in order for you to come to the explanation and the answer. Why is it always easier to help others, but not using the same tools ourselves? Now, that is a really important point. Like, it's such an important point. And it's the exact same reason as to why a surgeon does not do their own surgery. You won't find a surgeon. You can have the best heart surgeon in the world, and you will not ever find themselves cutting open their own chest to cut out their own heart. And the reason for that, I mean, in that example, is because you're going to be fucking dead. You'll be unconscious. But primarily, the reason is perspective. Okay. Now, there is a very, very unique perspective that we have when we're looking in at our own lives. And that perspective, in so many instances, is limited. The reason that it's a limited perspective is because we are always 100% of the time biologically programmed to favor our own perspective, right? And therefore, objectivity is very, very difficult to achieve when we're trying to coach ourselves. It's not impossible. It can be done. But this is one of the biggest reasons as to why coaches need coaches in the same way that surgeons need surgeons and doctors need doctors, right? We are able somewhat to coach ourselves, of course, and it's useful to use the tools and the techniques and the methods that we use with other people in order to gain a little bit more of an insight into how we're thinking and feeling. Now, the reason as to why it never seems to be as effective is because it's very difficult to highlight our own blind spots. And that's one of the biggest benefits of coaching, is that when your coach asks you questions, they're asking you different questions and using different tools and techniques with you in order for you to go on a journey of realization. So that they're asking you a question and your brain, just like Google, has to find an answer. Therefore, they're asking us questions that our brain did not previously preempt, and therefore we have not got a predetermined answer for that question. That's one of the reasons as to why it can be difficult to coach yourself, because every question that you go to ask yourself, or the tools and techniques that you use, there will somewhat be a preemptive answer that we have because we know the question's coming, right? That's one of the most powerful things about having a coach that isn't you, because you cannot in any way preempt the questions that are going to be put to you. You can't preempt the tools and the techniques that that person is going to use in that order at that time. So your blind spots are completely exposed. I get coached all the time, right? I try to be coached as much as possible. And I have coaches in different areas of my life. I have a life coach, I have a wealth coach, I have a health coach. And I'm one of the coaching masters. There's no way I could fully coach myself on all of those different topics and all of those different subjects, not because I need experts within those areas to be my mentors, but because I need people that are going to be asking me those questions and take me on that journey that I haven't predetermined, that I can't preempt, so that I'm completely open to interpretation, that I'm completely open to what it is that is created inside of me based upon the coaching that they do with me. Long story short, we cannot see our own blind spots, right? We all have them. There are all things that are holding us back and limiting us, and they're really restricting our perspective on people, places, things, events in our life. There are blind spots. It's undoubtable that there are. It's just the way that the human brain works, right? We get what we focus on and we delete what we don't. So we have blind spots. We delete tons of information. We distort information. We generalize information. But we can't be the ones that highlight those blind spots because they are our blind spots. So we don't know they're there. We can't highlight something that we don't know exists because it's almost like trying to fight an invisible man. You don't know where he is. So that's why we also need coaches as well. So don't ever for 1 minute think, because I'm good at coaching other people, but I'm not good at coaching myself, is there something wrong with me? No. There's 100% not anything wrong with you whatsoever. That is completely normal, completely 100% normal. It's just that we need other people to highlight these things for us, right? So let's talk about the differences between a coach and a teacher, because they're different as well. Now, a teacher, we all have our preconceptions of what a teacher is. A teacher is that person that stands up in the front of the classroom and they, for lack of a better word, regurgitate information that has been handed down to them through a curriculum, right? Through a syllabus, through fucking textbooks. There will, of course, be teachers that have specialized in particular topics. And of course, this is somewhat of a generalization, which I'm not immune to. I might be one of the coaching masters. I may be an NLP trainer, but I still delete, distort, and generalize information just like everybody else does. So I've got my own values and my own beliefs surrounding the school system and teachers. And it's all based on my experience, which is, of course, going to be completely different to the next person's and the next person's and the next person's. But in general, the process of teaching, and again, I'm highlighting the fact I know it's a generalization, but in general, it's a case of receiving a curriculum, receiving predetermined textbook knowledge, and then just trying to pass that knowledge from the curriculum to the individual, whether that be a child student, an adult student. It's not a basis it's not a method that is based in questions and asking questions. That can be a way of getting your students to understand what it is you're teaching on a deeper level. But the difference there is that when it comes to coaching is about the understanding that that person already has the knowledge that they need to be able to overcome the problem that they have. I've just got to extract that out of them. I've got to pull it out of them. Teaching is more of one of those methodologies where we're pouring information into someone and trying to give them this textbook information. There may be an element of asking questions to see whether or not the information has gone in, but it's not based within the realm of simply asking questions. Much like mentoring, it's another one of those where it's just about giving you the info. Now, why then do we at the Coaching Masters believe that coaching is superior to mentoring and teaching when it comes to creating growth, transformation, and change inside of a human being? The reason as to why it's superior, in our opinion, 100% comes down to something called ownership, right? It all comes down to ownership. Now, if I give you an idea, that may be one of the best ideas in the world, but you do not feel as though you have complete ownership over the idea because I'm the one that gave it to you. So even if it's a great idea, and even if you can see that that idea will benefit you hugely, you are much less likely to adopt the idea and take the action required in order to follow the idea through. However, if I can take you on a process where you are the one that comes up with the idea, where you are the one that has the light bulb moment, the aha moment. If I can take you on a process where you feel very, very strongly that you are the one that has created the solution to what it is you need, you are 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 times more likely to actually follow that through. And that is because of ownership, right? You have ownership over the idea. You have ownership over the realization, okay? Ownership is absolutely vital when it comes to the coaching process. When I am a mentor, I could still be an excellent mentor and add a lot of value to your lives, because if I mentor someone, what they want is what I've got. Even though that can be very, very powerful and effective, it still would not ever be quite as powerful than if I somehow got you to a point where you just happen to realize what it is you need to do and you had ownership over the process. Because as a mentor, if I'm giving you the ideas, I'm giving you my ideas, right? If I'm giving you knowledge and wisdom and expertise, it's mine and I'm giving it to you. So you've got no ownership over it. When it comes to teaching, once again, I'm passing information down to you. Ownership on in the first place. I'm taking information that has been passed to me and I'm passing it to you. Coaching, I'm asking you, even if I have an idea of what I think will benefit you, I'm not directly just offering it up and telling you that. I'm asking you all of the right questions to get you to a point where my client then says, I've got it. I know what I need to do. And then they have complete ownership over the process. So let's talk about therapy as well, because there is a distinction to be had, right, between therapy and coaching. Now, there's a lot of similarities, and out of these four things, then I would say that the major similarities probably exist between therapy and coaching. So it's really good to distinguish the difference between the two. So when it comes to therapy, there's a big focus on understanding what has happened up until the point that you are at right now. So when you're in a therapy session, you're talking a lot about the past, what's happened, why it happened, your thought process, your feelings, and you're handing over detail about what's happened from this moment in your past up until the point you're sitting in that chair during that therapy session. There's a lot of benefits to that, huge amounts of benefits to have that kind of exploration and explanation and discussion, and really being able to truly understand the reasons behind why something happened and where it happened and who it happened with and what that means to you. And now understanding how you process that information. It's really valuable stuff. And there's a big element of that in coaching. We ask a lot of questions around the person's past. We ask a lot of questions about how something felt, where they were, what they saw, what that means to them. We ask a lot of questions about people's past. It's a very important part of the process. But what happens a lot of the time is that therapy stops there, right? They end it there. And it's not heavily, and it is heavily focused in the past, and it's not focused on what you want as of this point right now moving into your future. Once again, bit of a generalization. There are types of therapies that do focus on that, but we're talking about the general differences between coaching and therapy. Coaching is very much about saying, right, I understand where you've come from. I understand what you saw. I understand what you felt. We've processed it. We understand it. We've discussed it. We've got it all out on the table. But what do you want as of right now? That stuff has been and gone. It's in the past, right? There's not a lot we can do about that. When it comes to NLP mastery, of course, there are certain elements of being able to warp a memory and change a memory and therefore changing what it means to you today. And you'll learn about that on the NLP course for those people that are on it. But physically, in this physical realm, we can't go back in time and change what's happened. But what we can do is we can change what's going to happen. We do have control over what we do as of right now, what we're thinking, what we're doing, where we're going to go, who we're going to be with. All of these things that we look out to our future and we say, where are we going and what do we want? That's the biggest differentiator between therapy and coaching is coaching explores the person's background, but primarily we're focused on where they're going, not where they've come from, what they want, not what they've had. what they desire, not what they're trying to move away from. So with that being said, let's talk about a coach and a client and the relationship between the two. Why would that ever come about? What is a client? What is a coach? Blah, blah, blah. So a coach is an individual person who has made the decision to learn the questions, to learn the tools and the techniques and the methods to become a coach. Anyone can do it. Anyone can be a very, very impactful, powerful coach, in fact, because primarily the secrets lie within the questions and the tools and the techniques, not some secret sauce that you need in order to be the world's number one coach. Like, a lot of people think of very, very famous coaches in this world. There's Paul McKenna, there's Tony Robbins, there's Jack Canfield, there's loads of different people. You know, people will even think about the coaching masters now. We're moving to be at the forefront of coaching. Now, there's nothing special about us. Right? And I'm saying that in the way that I know, of course, everybody's unique and everybody is special and everybody really has their superpowers. There's no doubt about that. But I swear to God, when it comes to the coaching space, we do not have some kind of secret weapon or secret sauce that allows us to get amazing results with our clients. We follow the process. Now, that is a process that we teach inside of the Coaching Masters membership. It's a process that we teach on our 12-week accreditation course. It's a process we teach on our 24-week NLP course. It's not some secret sauce. It's a process. It's a structure. It's a system. It's certain questions at certain times. It's certain techniques in a certain order that then yield certain results, right? Now, the reason as to why it's so simple is, once again, it all comes down to the fact that a human's brain is like Google, right? If you put a question into Google, you will get an answer, regardless of how leading that question is, how warped that question is, how complex that question is. If you've got a question and you put it into Google, it used to be Ask Jeeves. Who remembers Ask Jeeves? It's Google. You put it into Google, it gives you an answer. Your brain is very similar to that. If someone asks you a question, even if you don't want to answer the question, even if you've never considered the answer to that question, even if in this moment you don't know the answer to the question to be right or wrong, your brain cannot help but at least answer the question inside of your head. I'll give you a great example. Everybody that's listening to me right now, how old are you? There is not one person who didn't think of their age inside of their own head. It can't happen. I've asked the question. Your brain has heard the question. It cannot not give me a response. What did you have for dinner last night? There may be a delay. What did I have for dinner last night? Right? But there's one thing I can guarantee. Even if you can't remember, I can guarantee you at least tried to answer the question inside of your head. Even if you think, God, I don't know what I had for dinner last night, you're going to be thinking about it at least. Your brain is at least going to go on the mission to answer the question. Your brain is Google, right? Your brain is a Google search. So this is the reason as to why people can become superstar coaches that yield amazing results for their clients, because you just need to know what questions to ask and when to ask them and how to ask them. And then once you've asked the questions, you need to know what tools to use, what techniques to use, what methods to use, what frameworks to use to help your client move away from where they're currently stuck to where they want to be. There's very simple methods. There's the Wheel of Life. There's the Grow method. There's more advanced stuff. There's the neurological levels of change. There's the Fear method. There's all of these different things to help your clients overcome fear, break down limiting beliefs, increase their confidence, shift their perspective, change their focus. All of these things that benefit us as human beings living this one and only life that we've got. It's absolutely fucking shocking to me that people move their way through life without being coached. I can't believe it. It's like coaching has allowed us to completely and utterly accelerate the speed in which we are creating success, fulfillment, fun, happiness, focus, confidence, because there's literally this set of tools that help you do that. It's like the equivalent of buying a car, right, the year you were born, and driving that car every day for 100 years and not ever going to see a mechanic. Because you're saying, well, I don't need that. Why would I need a mechanic? Oh, I'm all right. I'll do it on my own. This car's going along nicely, isn't it? 20, 30 years in, it's going... And you're just like flat out refusing to take it to a mechanic and get it seen. And all this mechanic needs to do, he's got a few tools and techniques himself or herself, can fix it, and you're good as new again. Not only that, you take it to another garage, they're going to install an even better engine. They're going to give you better brakes. They're going to give you better headlights. They're going to give you better this, better that, better battery, longer lasting. You walk in with a little shitty fucking Suzuki Alto, and I had a Suzuki Alto, right? So I'm not dissing anyone. It's just the first fucking car that popped into my head because that was the car I had for years. And it was bashed up to shit as well. So anyway, you could go in there with a Suzuki Alto. You could walk out of a Ferrari or a Bentley or a fucking Aston Martin because there are mechanics in this world that can fix your cars, right? Make them good as new and even give you a better car. Life coaches are that for humans who want to increase their confidence, break down limiting beliefs, shift their perspective, change their focus. These are the things that make life what life is. These are the mechanics of the human being. And yet, there will be people that will go, nah, I don't need that. And I'm like, mate, you are basically like a 30-year-old car that has never once gone to a mechanic. You're falling apart. You are fucking falling to bits. And just because you're worried about being laughed at by your mates down the pub because you've said, oh, I've started seeing a life coach, you're fucked. You need something. Trust me, you need a coach. So anyway, it shocks me. It completely shocks me that people would not go and get the help of a coach when a coach can help you fine-tune the parts of you that make you a functioning, successful human being. So for those people that are listening to this that are thinking, what's a coach? I don't know what a coach is. That's what a coach is, right? A coach is someone who sits down and listens to the individual sitting in front of them and asks them the right questions to understand where they've been, where they've come from, where they're going, what they want, understands what limiting beliefs they have about themselves, people, places, things, really starts to gauge their level of satisfaction with all elements of their life, really starts to understand what their level of focus is, what their level of confidence is, right? So really truly gets to understand the ins and outs of that human being, where they've come from, how they function, and what makes them who they are, and then can use a series of tools and techniques and methods to help them become a better person, more highly functioning, more focused, more confident, to go out there and achieve the things that they want to achieve in life. It's absolutely shocking to me that not everybody on this planet has a coach, in the exact same way that it is a legal requirement for you to get an MOT on your car. How the fuck have we allowed this to happen for so long that it's 2022 in a few weeks' time and there is no sort of requirement to get an MOT on you as a person, your life, the way you function, the way you think, the way you operate. And we think it's okay to just go just like plodding along for decades, wondering why nothing's working. Unreal, right? Unreal to me. That's fucking mental. But for you guys who are listening to this that are coaches, and especially coaching masters, you are in a very, very, very good place here. A very strong place. You're the pioneers of this coaching space. It's not just me and Lewis that are the pioneers of coaching. It's not Tony Robbins and Paul McKenna. Like, we're the guys that have been embracing it for a long time. But you who are here now listening to this, you are the pioneers. Because trust me, this thing is so in its infancy, so much so that still yet to this day, most people are like, I don't even know what that is. And that's literally like having a 50-year-old car and going, what's a mechanic? And I'm like, mate, that's the reason why your fucking car's falling apart is that you haven't got a tune-up. You got to go and get yourself a tune-up. So anyway, client. So what's a client then? A client is an individual person who has had this realization on some level, right? A client to a chiropractor is someone who has realized they need to go and get their back cracked or their neck cracked, which I had done yesterday, by the way. It's really very satisfying. A client to a chiropractor is someone who's realized, holy shit, I need someone to sort me out. I need some assistance. I can't crack my back on my own and I'm in pain, right? I'm not functioning at 100%. And I know I've only got one life and I want to be functioning as close to 100% as often as possible, right? That's a client to a chiropractor. A client to a coach is someone who thinks the exact same thing about their life, their business, their relationships, their family, their confidence, their focus. The things that make us human. Someone has gone, you know what, I'm really not maximizing this. You know, I'm realizing now that I'm X amount of years old. I've probably got X amount of years left. And I have in no way maximized myself, my abilities or my focus, or I could be doing so much more. I could have a much more fulfilling job. I could have a much more fulfilling relationship. I could be feeling a lot better about myself. I could be way more confident. I need to help with that, right? I need help with my confidence, my focus, my perspective, my emotions, my business, my success, my sleep, my anxiety, my this, my that, my this, my that. So then that person, they go to see a coach. Not a sports coach, not a therapist, not a mentor, not a teacher, not a guru, a coach, an individual who in no way says, I'm here to fix your problem, right? In no way says, take this pill. In no way says, take this advice and this guidance, do what I did. They are there to fully and truly understand you, who you are, where you've come from, what you've done, what you've seen, to understand your limiting beliefs that you have about yourself, people, places, and things, to understand your level of confidence, to understand how you process emotions, to really understand you as a person. How satisfied are you with your life, with your business, with your relationships, with your income? What do you need to change? What fears do you have that you need to overcome? To really, truly understand you, and then takes you on a process where you are able to miraculously, somehow, like it's magic, have the realizations of exactly what you need to do in order to change. That's what a coach does for a client. That client, when being coached by someone who's been trained really well, much like all of the coaching masters that we've trained, that client gets huge amounts of benefits, and therefore they're able to function at a higher level than what they were before, saving them time on their life. Literally saving them time. Being able to do things more efficiently, with a lot more fun, a lot more excitement, a lot more focus, right? So guys, yeah, that's a coach, that's a client. So what's a session? Well, a session, right? A coaching session, which will always last anywhere between, say, 45 minutes to an hour. Sometimes people do an hour and a half, whatever. A coaching session is one small segment of time which is purely dedicated for that coach to help that client move away from where they're currently stuck right now, move away from what they don't want, and move them towards what it is they do want. And it's as simple as that, right? It's as simple as that. We move our clients away from where they are currently stuck towards where they want to be during the course of a coaching session. Now, you don't just sell sessions, right? You sell packages, because people don't want just session by session because it's sporadic, it's unpredictable, it's not much value there, right? There is value when you have the session, but it doesn't feel like there's a lot of value. So what we want to do is we want to sell coaching packages. So someone that signs up to a coaching package, it could be a 3-month coaching package that has 1 session a week for 3 months and some additional things that you could throw in there that are not very onerous on your time, but they're really valuable, with the idea that we're going to be achieving a particular outcome. We're going to work towards a particular outcome. So then session by session by session, we're moving our clients closer towards the outcome until eventually they've either achieved that outcome or they've at least moved so much more closer towards it that now they have a different outcome and they want to move in a different direction. Progress, progress, progress. Moving forward, growth, transformation, change, exploration, realization, expansion, understanding. All of these things that so very typically, especially men, this is a generalization once again, but so typically the human being just keeps trapped inside of them, not daring to share it with anyone. It is not how we are supposed to be living our lives. There is a huge difference between expression and repression. A huge difference. They're polar opposites. We are designed to express, let it all out, express ourselves, to feel, to communicate. We are designed to be able to exercise that expression, whether that's through communication or whether it's through art or whether it's through any sort of form of conversation. There's a huge difference between the two. We are not designed to be repressed in any way, told to shut up, keep a lid on it, bury it down deep, keep it trapped down there. That will fuck us up big time. So what we're doing is we're allowing the space for expression and understanding and communication. We are going on a journey with our clients. We're guiding our clients in a way, right? Even though we're not guides or mentors, we're more facilitators. We are facilitators of growth and transformation and change. We are facilitating the journey towards growth and transformation and change through expression, through understanding, through communication, through exploration of the mind and the emotions and the way that we process information. This is what a coach does. So next time someone says, hang on a minute, you're a life coach, how can you tell people how to live their lives? Just fucking send them this podcast episode, right? And say, this is what a coach really does. This is why I'm changing the world. This is why I'm building a successful business, because the more value you add to someone's life, the more money you make. This is how I'm helping people and creating a very, very good income and a very good revenue stream at the same time. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that was a good insight into what coaching actually is, right? How we help people, what a coach is, what a client is, the reasons as to why we do it, the way it differs between mentorship, gurus, guides, teachers, therapists, and the reason as to why what we are doing right here, right now is at the forefront of a huge, unbelievable movement, right? A huge movement in the right direction, away from repression, towards expression, and people being able to actually talk about what they're thinking, what they're feeling in a structured way where a coach can then take that information and help that person and facilitate change within that person to help move them closer towards where they want to be. That's what we do as coaches, right? As always, I love you all very, very much. You're incredible human beings. The sheer fact that you're even here says a lot about who you are and where you're going. Keep coaching your way to freedom. Never, ever forget that, and help other people do the same thing. Use this podcast episode to send people who don't quite get it or don't quite know what we do. You're amazing. You're powerful. You're valued. You're heard. You're in the right place. Love you guys. Speak to you soon.